Til AIM North her på vårparten. Da hadde vi planer om å bygge en community i Norge rundt Artificial Intelligence. Det vi ønsker å gjøre er å bringe sammen akademia, teknologi, corporate sektor, offentlig sektor, startups og investorer. Hallo? Hører du meg, eller? Ja, får snakke litt høyere. Så igjen, velkommen til AIM North. Vi har et veldig tight skjema her i dag. Rune skal gå gjennom det litt kort her nå. Vær så god, Rune.
Yeah. Hello, my name is Rune. Yeah, there's some questions up here. We all have questions about this field. So, and I will also like to emphasize that we have someone who's paying the bill, the food. So you know that. So this is actually the track for today. Breakfast. You all been eating? You all stuffed now? Okay. Yeah. So we have a plenary session now from 8:30 to 9. Then we have or 9:50. Then we have a short break, and then we have a plenary session after that. And in this room, we will have a Shark Tank presentation of investors. And after that, there are breakout sessions, 7 tracks. So this is the overall plan. So let's get started then. So it's all about mind and machine. So Talle, stage is yours.
Good morning, everybody. Is it working? No? Closer. Is it working now? Good. We're going to have an amazing set of speakers today. I'm not going to take up a lot of time, because if it's something that we don't have today, actually, it's time. But we're going to have a first amazing speaker. It's our rector. He's just been... how can I say it, Curt? Awarded 4 more years, or given 4 more years, or taken 4 more years? I don't know. He's a professor of linguistics. Is this right in English?
It is right in English.
Yeah, okay. And he's, I need to say, he's also the Obama of rectors, which has been named by some of the other Obamas in Norway. No, I mean some of the other rectors in Norway. So, of course, we would like Curt to speak for 20 minutes. He only has 5 minutes, but he says he wants to deliver content in those 5 minutes. Is that right, Curt?
Thank you,
yeah.
Thank you. And welcome, everybody. Welcome to OsloMet, and good morning. We, as many of you know, we've only recently become a university. That happened on January 12th this year, and as Talle has just illustrated, that gives us a lot of ambitions, and we set the threshold very, very high. But it's such an exciting opportunity for us to host this event, and it illustrates one of the things we experience having become a university, namely that we find that gives us a quicker entry into good partnerships and opportunities to work closely with others. And I'm sure that many things that are going to happen over the next couple of days will illustrate that point just as well. You're going to be hearing more later, I'm sure, about a big AI initiative that this university was central in getting started, a national initiative that maybe will become soon an international initiative. You're also going to hear more about some of the educational programs that we have that are related to digitalization and artificial intelligence. And you'll have many opportunities to get to know this institution and some of my colleagues here. There are lots of ways in which I imagine that AI, which I know traditionally stands for artificial intelligence, but I think sometimes it's also called augmented intelligence. And I think there are lots of opportunities in the educational sector to find better AI solutions that are going to put us in a position to do our job even better. In fact, if you spend 30 seconds brainstorming about this, I'm sure you'll come up with many, many examples. One huge problem that we have in Norway in higher education, for example, is dropout rates, where 50% of those who start a degree don't finish it. I think that there are many components to the analysis of that problem. But part of it is about individualized learning programs, part of it is about better assessment of the starting point that students have, and part of it is about keeping in touch with students in ways that allows for intervention earlier on. There will be AI solutions to that. There are emerging already AI solutions to that that are going to allow us to radically change the way that we work on those problems. And those solutions that come for that problem, I think, feed other kinds of activities. In Norway, these days, we see a heightened political awareness about the value of lifelong learning, and that's also a situation in which initial assessment and continuous contact facilitated by AI solutions are going to put us in a better position to deliver what we want to deliver. Education and research are the most important thing to us, also when we think about AI solutions. In fact, we like to say here at OsloMet that we're in the business of delivering knowledge and that solves society's problems. And that, of course, is only possible if we know what society's problems are. And again, analyses of very large data masses are going to help us understand that situation better. But beyond education and research, there are also the challenges associated with building the right framework around that, administrative challenges in some cases. In Norway, Norwegian institutions experience budget cuts every year. Our own budget has been cut by 70 million kroner by the government in the last few years, and we have to find good ways to compensate for that. I can easily think of dozens of examples in the areas in which we're trying to build a good framework for carrying out our primary activities that we could do better, more automatically, with better AI tools. And finally, as we've seen tonight, during the night, there are issues about the framework in which we build our framework, namely the democratic process. And I have to admit that I've been up a lot of this night going to all sorts of different election events connected to the midterms elections in the United States, where the results at best provide only a moderate basis for hope. But one of the big problems that we see in the United States, and I'm sure is true in other countries also, that needs to be solved, presumably with the help of AI, is more reliable election processes and strengthening of the democratic processes around us. And if that's not enough of a challenge for you, well, I look forward to hearing more about what you think about these things. Thank you very much.
And is this close enough? Yes? Can you hear me in the back? Yeah, okay, great. You see this amazingly nice building, which is owned by somebody, kind of, a separate faculty. So we have had, or we would really like to welcome on stage Gro Jamtvedt. She's the Dean of the Faculty of Health Sciences at OsloMet. And she wants to welcome us to this building, which is kind of your building.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tale. Dear participants and speakers and contributors, I'm very pleased to welcome you to this venue and to the Faculty of Health Sciences. The faculty runs close to 30 programs on bachelor, master's, and PhD levels, and we have more than 6,000 students. And we definitely need to learn more about artificial intelligence, how that already has influenced healthcare and will in the future. Only like to say that this area used to be the National Hospital of Norway, and this building used to be the Department of Pathology. At that time, and that was up to 2009. And during all these years, I think it was a lot of intelligence in this building, but it was not much artificial, I would say. And of course, in that area and other areas of healthcare, we have seen how artificial intelligence already has improved and will improve the care and the treatment and the diagnostics for various diseases. So, having said that, I only want to wish you a very fruitful and fun conference and enjoy the building and the area. So thank you, Tale.
So we have so many engaged people at OsloMet. Can you hear me now? No. Wrong mic? Better? Yes. It's very low. Maybe you can, I don't know. Yeah. Okay. So now you met some of the engaged people. We have even more engaged people. We have 2 internationally renowned speakers that's going to come on stage. One of them is Morten Irgens. He's our Vice Rector of Research. Is that research and development, Morten, or just research?
Well, I think the title is
Research and development. Okay, so I don't know which category. Okay, that's what I'm not sure either. Then additionally, we have Holger Hoos. Actually, I started going through your resume and I didn't even know where to start. So I'm kind of a research geek. So one thing that I found was really impressive was your age index of 63.
Oh my God.
Which as a researcher, kind of, there's not many of you in Europe, I would say. So you are like a huge capacity on artificial intelligence in Europe and globally. I think that's enough. You know what you want to tell us about. It's an important initiative. You're going to talk a little bit about Claire. Is that right?
we're going to talk a little bit about that, but I have a presentation. Oh, yes. There's no sound here. Hello. Do you hear me now? Thank you. We have an engaged audience, particularly one. I appreciate that. We are going to, I have a presentation at 11 where I'm going to go into depth about some of the initiatives in Europe, also an initiative that we are behind. But we are going to chit-chat a bit about AI. And then that will lead us into the, more talk a little bit later at 11. Holger. So,
Morten.
Yes. So was this enough, or should you say something more about yourself?
I'm already embarrassed enough, but it's wonderful to be here, actually. Always a pleasure to be in Oslo. Always a pleasure to be with my friend Morten here. And I think, you know, AI is one of these exciting topics that connects people worldwide, but also that has people talk a lot in various ways, right? About AI, fears about AI, hopes about AI. It's really on everybody's mind, Morten, right?
It is on everybody's mind. It is really, one of the reasons for that is, of course, you have seen a lot of uptake in industry on various applications in AI that has seen tremendous successes in the last few years. And I think many of you are aware of that. I mean, you also have worked on some of that. But, you know, anything from Face IDs to Siri to
Alexa, right?
Alexa.
And then there's these wonderful applications in medical sciences, for instance, where now we can classify certain types of skin cancer just as well as dermatologists and better. And of course, that's wonderful, right? I mean, we can say unlocking my phone by looking at it. That's a neat thing. But, you know, detecting cancer reliably, that's another category of bringing something good, I would say.
Absolutely. Why is this? Well, there's two things to that. We see that some of these applications perform better than specialists. But when you put them together with a specialist, there's something superb that happens.
I would absolutely say so. And, you know, one of the misunderstandings about AI that I see come up a lot is this idea that, you know, we're all going to lose our jobs because sooner or later there will be some AI system that's going to do the job at least as well and cheaper, or perhaps a lot better. And I think a lot of these fears are actually quite misplaced. But before we go into that, I'm kind of wondering, Morten, all of these examples that we've mentioned, and we could have mentioned a lot more, like AlphaGo, for example, the Go program that beat the world's best Go player, somebody who had been preparing himself for decades to reach that astounding level of performance. That all has come about because a new technology called deep learning, since 2012 has really taken center stage. So we might be very tempted to say, well, you know, there's a renaissance in AI that's due to just deep learning. You think that would be accurate?
No, I don't think that is accurate. And I'm saying that also because you're a professor in machine learning, aren't you? So when you're looking at Go and this application, Go actually played against the best chess AI system, and won by playing against it. It learned to play chess by playing against itself for 4 hours, and then it went on and beat the best chess system in the world. So that's a win for machine learning.
Certainly. I mean, machine learning has taken great strides, but what we shouldn't forget is two things. First of all, machine learning is not all that new. Actually, a lot of the algorithms that are being used now have their roots back in the 70s. And there has been very, very significant improvement since then, especially since 2012, but it's really not this totally new phenomenon that took the world by storm. I would say it's more of a confluence of a variety of factors that leads to AI all of a sudden coming up and being so successful. And deep learning really is only one of the factors. Even the success of deep learning itself, you might wonder, why is this happening now? I guess one of the reasons is we do have a lot better hardware right now. So, you know, in devices like this one here, or even this one here, we have the kind of compute power that in the 1970s, when some of these neural network algorithms were developed, were first developed, would have filled a room, right? And so that, of course, is a big, big difference. But an even bigger difference comes from algorithms, and that has been quite well studied, and it's not so well appreciated that algorithms have come a very long way in various areas of AI. But I think there's more, Morten, no?
Well, I think also the rapid uptake in industry is also because of well, components. And it's not only that hardware is faster, it is cheaper, the data is available, we have access to what? We can access 4 billion people here or something like this, and also software components. You can download components and put them together and do things that we could only dream about. When I started in AI in 1988, and it's a lot of development in the algorithms, but more than anything, the confluence of components, of technologies, and of being able to move this to the market fast is really what has made a phase transition that we're seeing now.
Exactly, and there are those people who say, well, you know, we've had an AI hype before. I look around the room, some of you might have been around in the 1990s, right? You might remember that people talked about AI pretty enthusiastically then, and it's sort of waned away again. And, you know, we definitely have people who say, well, maybe this is just another hype cycle, and, you know, in 5 years the AI thing will be over and something else will be hot. And I don't think that's going to be the case. And I guess the main reason is what Morten said here. This time around, industry is quite ready for it. A lot of processes in industry are already running on computers, right? And deploying AI in many cases nowadays really just amounts to changing software, which is a lot easier than changing production environments themselves or deploying digital technology in the first place. And so therefore, I think there's all the evidence that this time it's happening for real and pretty fast too, which has some people concerned.
Well, what happens to jobs, for instance?
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of focus on this. Some report shows us that you know, half of the jobs today could be automated with today's technology. I'm not really concerned about that. We've heard these stories for 200 years. And usually we are just adopting and making technology to do new things. And what is interesting for us at this venue, at OsloMet, is that we have 22,000 students. And I don't think there's a single job or profession we educate these students to that won't be not only touched by this development in technology, but I think a lot of these professions will be turned upside down. Take our nurses. We have nurse education here. We have seen for years how functions have been moved from hospitals to medical doctors. Half of the functions, activities of a medical doctor could, with support system, be moved to other health workers, nurses, other health workers, and to us as citizens.
Absolutely.
And that is a transformation that we are just starting to face now.
Now, there is another concern that I hear quite a bit, and that is, you know, a lot of AI talent is migrating, not just away from Europe, but specifically into a few big companies, 2, 3, 4 big companies. I think you can all guess who they are. And that sort of raises the concern that, you know, should we really leave the development of world-class AI to those few companies? And I don't think it's a question whether we trust those specific companies. Of course, you know, their obligation is towards their shareholders, so good for you if you have some shares in some of those, because I think they will continue to do very, very well, in part thanks to AI. But the real question that we're facing here is, shouldn't the public have a bigger stake in this? Shouldn't it be absolutely necessary, just as it was during the days of the Human Genome Project, that the public has capabilities at the universities, at the public research labs, that are just as good as those in industry? And I quite strongly believe that this is the case. And of course, then you want to do things in partnership with industry. But to leave this to industry alone, I think would be a big mistake.
Yes, not only this, where is the investments happening? Last year, private capital invested in private enterprises, in AI and private enterprises in the United States, about $18.5 billion US. The equivalent in Europe was about $2.5 to $3.5 billion US. It's an enormous difference. And the interesting thing is, Europe has strong universities and strong AI research, but we don't have the investment. 2-3 weeks ago, the Norwegian government announced a technology investment plan for technology research, 800 million kroner. The same week, MIT announced an investment in AI at MIT alone of $1 billion US. That's okay, you get it. It's 10 times as much as this whole nation. So where are we going with this? Of course, we have to focus on technology investment and AI investment, and AI investment will drive up the rest of technology investment.
And we should say very clearly here, this is not just about machine learning, right? That's a widely held misconception that machine learning is driving all of that, and really AI is the same thing. That's totally not the case. If you look at all the devices that you're carrying with you, right? The biggest commercial success of AI up to date is the fact that we have these devices and that they work roughly about the way they should and don't do all sorts of crazy things that their designers didn't foresee. That is ensured by very powerful hardware and software verification techniques, mathematical AI techniques that mathematically ensure that certain things that shouldn't happen don't happen on these devices. And that comes out of an area of AI called automated reasoning, where people tend to be a little bit more modest than perhaps some of the flashier machine learning people. But if you think about it, this is essentially a multi-billion, maybe trillion euro market that is completely dependent on the use of automated reasoning techniques. And it all happens under the hood without you having to worry about anything. But what you get out of it is hardware and software that is amazingly complex and works most of the time correctly. And that's really a good thing. So AI is really a lot more than ML. There's many areas which contribute and will contribute to the future success. That's a very important thing to keep in mind.
So I feel a bit crowded here, so I'm just going
to end. I think you want to say something about Claire. Maybe you want people to register and engage in Claire. Do you want to kind of finish?
I will do that at 11 o'clock.
Okay.
We've been building up to that, you know. Okay. Because as you might know.
So what we're going to do, yes, first of all, Europe and Norway has to respond. We see that already in Norway. OsloMet has several AI and AI-related strong research groups. We have also established a research center together with SimulaMet. We have fabulous research in other universities in Norway, and NTNU, together with a lot of industrial partners, have established a strong AI lab in Trondheim. And we have established a confederation of AI labs among 6 universities and Simula. So there's things going on. But it's also things going on in Europe. And Holger and I have worked on establishing a European movement of AI researchers. Would you say a few words as an intro to what I will talk about at 11?
And we can summarize this just with 3 things. And really our chit-chat here has been building up to that. Claire is about all of AI, right? A lot of the public perception is very focused on machine learning. It's a great thing, you know. I'm a professor of machine learning. My research is mostly in machine learning. I love it. But realistically, we should invest in a broader spectrum of AI techniques, because the confluence of these techniques will give us tomorrow's AI systems. And they will not just learn, they will be reliable too. And we absolutely need that. Secondly, clear is for all of Europe, right? It would be nice to have a world-class Norwegian initiative that can compete with the US or China. Maybe Norway could pull it off, but I haven't quite seen the political will yet. In lieu of that, what we should do is get everybody in Europe together and say, you know, we have to jointly do something that can take its place on the world stage. And that we can absolutely do with a market of 500 million people. And the important thing there is that Europe is a lot more than just the EU, right? And Norway is a great example for that. And the third thing, Morten, there's a third thing.
I need to, but the engagement, you know, the engagement. It's
oh, let him say the third thing, though.
I love the engagement.
The human in the center.
Exactly.
Right.
And you'll hear more about it later.
How to do that. That's our edge. Okay, thank you so much.
No, thank you so much. Thank you
Great.
so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks. That's an amazing engagement. We want to continue doing that the whole day through, sticking with time, so I'm kind of the master of time. I need to just do what I can. We have 3 amazing researchers from OsloMet and Simula that's coming on stage right now. It's Michael Riegler from senior researcher at Simula. SimulaMet. We have Trine Haugen, professor of biomedicine from faculty of. Come on up, join. You're in the couch. You know you're in the couch. And then we have the amazing Stefano, Nichele. Is that right in Italian? Yeah. Associate professor and also the founder of the Applied AI Lab at OsloMet. So we're doing some cool stuff here. Give them an applause, please. So you're like placed in the couch and I'm, you know, talking to you. That's funny. Can I start with you? Yes. I kind of prepped them with a couple of questions. Can you briefly tell us what you're doing in the artificial intelligence research right now or have been doing?
I can, but briefly, it's difficult. We do so many interesting things. I can give some examples. We do research in AI, recording data from neurons, from working with neuroscientists, and then we try to use AI models to basically train the new generation computers that will run these AI models in the future. And at the same time, we try to understand more of neural diseases and try through AI models to actually stimulate neurons to actually recover some of these sicknesses. And also we do a lot of research with robotics. We love robotics because robotics gives a body to the AI, gives a body. So through embodiment, we have sensory motor systems. So we have feedbacks. We have sensors that give data and then processing and then output. And robots are very important because in the future we will manage to automate many difficult tasks, but robots nowadays work in very specific environments. And they are designed and programmed to work in this very precise environment. And we want to be able to deploy robots that can learn to do tasks in new environments where the conditions might change over time. And also we do another interesting, very important thing because AI is quite difficult to deploy in real life system because it needs experts to configure them, to tune them, to decide what kind of architecture we need, how many layers we need, which kind of neurons, which kind of convolutional layers, which kind of strategies to train this. So we want to use meta-learning. We want to do meta-learning. We want to have learning to configure this AI system automatically so that the threshold for using AI systems will be lower for all of us. And we do a lot of many more things. So if you are here in Oslo, you know, just drop by here at OsloMet, talk to our group, talk to me, write me an email. So we are very much looking forward.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Stefano. When I'm introducing you, Trine, I wanted to say that you are kind of helping the Norwegians to be reproductive by using AI. Isn't that great? So we can have a, population in Norway going forward. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Hello. Can you hear me? Yeah. Well, we are hoping that artificial intelligence methods can improve the results after assisted reproduction technology. In this technology, you have to select sperm and oocytes to make a baby. And of course, it's important that you pick up the best one. And also the embryo, when you have succeeded in fertilization, to pick the best embryo to transfer into the woman and hopefully get the good results. And at present, this selection method is very subjective. It's embryologists or other persons that look at these cells and pick up from using a very limited amount of information and mix them in a tube, and you get an embryo, and then again a very subjective selection of the embryo to put into the woman. We hope that AI methods can use more data and thereby be a better selector for these cells. And of course, it's a challenge in this field because you cannot damage the cells. They should create life. So you need to look at them in a very careful way, and you cannot do a lot of examination that destroy the cells. So therefore, we have to discover some pattern, and we need a lot of data to use that in a good way. And this is, I think, a very promising way to try to improve these techniques. And now 8 million babies have been born by assisted reproduction technology in the world, and it will be an increase in need and availability of these techniques, especially because people wait too long, will some say, to get pregnant, and therefore we need good technologies to have a sustainable population also in Norway.
Do we want that? Do we want sustainable population? Yes, I think so. Okay, Michael, can you share some of what you're doing?
Hello, can everybody hear me? I have a bit of a cold, so please tell me if you don't understand what I'm saying. First thing I wanted to say before I start talking about my work, I was thinking quite a lot about how I should sit on the couch because it should look cool, so I hope it's a good position. So, about my work, so I'm working mainly with machine learning or artificial intelligence, how people also call it in the medical scenario. And what we're doing there, we're working on different problems, like, for example, mental health care, where we try to help patients to deal with their daily lives by analyzing sensors and their feedback and these things. Or we're working with image analysis, where we want to find cancer in the colon or this kind of stuff. But we're also working with Trine on this artificial reproduction use case, where we have to work on different things, because there we have to combine different data sources and these things. So what we are mainly interested in is these very challenging and specific challenges that come from the medical domain, which is, for example, that we have to work with few data. Also, we often don't have the labels for the data, so we're coming up with techniques to make data acquisition much more efficient. How can we get better ground truths and these things? How do we make it easy for the medical experts to give us the data we need and these kind of things? But what we are also working is, of course, on the algorithms, which is important too. But the most important for us is at the moment that we also improve the understanding of the output of the AI, because we believe that if you just give a number to a doctor or to a health patient or to whatever a person has to deal with the system, this will not be enough. We have to be able to explain why the AI came to the conclusion and how this conclusion can be maybe important for the further development of the patient and these things. So we're basically doing a lot of research into that field now, which is quite challenging because AI or deep learning in specifically is well known to be a kind of black box, which is still not totally cracked open. So, yeah.
Thank you, Michael. So I know that Michael and Stefano, you're kind of working on artificial intelligence, and I think, Trine, you've been brave enough to kind of engage in working with people who know about artificial intelligence, which I think makes you a really good mix. But I wanted to ask you, if you were to give like one advice to practitioners with all the knowledge that you have, what would it be?
You want to start?
Do you want to start?
There's nobody else here on the right. Okay, so what can I say? There is a big hype. There is a big hype. Everyone is doing AI today. All of us are doing AI. I kind of admit that sometimes I'm embarrassed to say that I'm doing AI. What I mean is that we should go through this hype and we should not follow the hype. We should continue to do what we are doing. As we have heard from Holger before, artificial intelligence is not machine learning. There are a lot of components in AI, and the success, the breakthroughs of AI, as we have seen from AlphaGo, come from a combination of methods. For example, it was a deep learning combined with reinforcement learning, combined with Monte Carlo tree search. It's a combination of those. So we should not, just because there is a lot of interest in one of the areas of AI, just forget everything else. Let's continue to do the other AI methods as well as we're doing, and let's not enhance this hype. Let's just use all the AI methods.
Well, since I'm a representative for a researcher, not an expert in IA, but collaborating with someone, I think it's important that we communicate, that we talk to each other, and when Mikael tell me something and I don't understand, I ask him, what are you saying? And this interdisciplinary collaboration is very important to get real. So it's not only some people working with the AI and some people are working with the other topic, but you have to try to understand each other in the best way. I think that's an important point.
Okay, so from my point of view, I think the most important things is three things apart from the algorithm: data, the human, and the evaluation. And if you want to make a good practical AI system, you have to also invest a lot of time in these three things. Not just a good algorithm is important, but I think algorithms, they are working and they're existing, as we heard before, since the 70s, and we can use them. But you really have to spend some time on prepare your data. Be sure that you get really good data and that you have the ground truths available that you need. You have to take the humans into account for understanding the case where you want to apply your AI into, but also to kind of think about how will people that use my AI system interact with the system and how will that influence actually the interaction of the system and the development. And the last thing, the evaluation, because you can often see, unfortunately, that people don't pay much attention to the evaluation. Often is that it's because you don't have enough data to make a proper evaluation of your algorithms. But I think you should really think about having a proper and tough evaluation of your results, also to be sure that what you want to give out there to the world is a good system and not something that does maybe not work, and maybe only on your very limited data set.
Okay, great. So just kind of to sum up, and then shake your head if I'm wrong. So go beyond the hype, kind of, continue working. Think about interdisciplinary work, and don't be afraid to ask stupid questions. Could that be a summary? And then it was data, people, and evaluations from you, Michael. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for coming on stage. Give them a warm round of applause. On my hand, I'm now handing the mic from OsloMet side over to Silje Bareksten. Is that right? Yeah, you will help me out. You are head of sustainability and technology at North Shipping, but this is very recently, or pretty recently, is that right? Yeah, how recently? Last week? No. 1 month, okay, good. And then you've also been involved with World Economic Forum, is that right? Yes.
Thank you. So everyone hear me okay? In the back? Okay, good. So thank you. My name is Silje Bareksten. I am the head of sustainability and technology at North Shipping. Thank you for that. I have been working in the intersection between public sector, private sector, technology, startups, and that domain for quite some time now. And actually the first time I entered that scene was in 2009. This crowd is a crowd that I think that we probably wouldn't have seen back in 2009. And that's something that really makes me really happy to stand here today, because as it was said, working with AI is an approach that has a lot more than just machine learning in it. It's a plethora of discipline coming into one, and in the same way, if we're going to make sense of this kind of technology and really any of the emerging and disruptive technologies that we are speaking about now in 2018, we need all of these brilliant heads to come together, and we need an interdisciplinary approach. So for me, it's great to see, firstly, that we are here at OsloMet, an academic institution, that we are represented by researchers, by scholars, academics, by people from the local authorities, by private sector, and by young technology companies and students. So I'm also very happy to present the first speaker on this part at stage. She is a very interesting person, because I've been following her, actually, for a bit of time. And the reason for that is that we need some proper sources of information when we learn about technology. Hilde Lovet, she is responsible for the health and AI projects in the Norwegian Board of Technology. And she has been the project director here since 2011. So I'm going to hand the stage to her. Welcome, Hilde.
Thank you. Thank you for the information. Can you hear me? Yeah? Okay. Thank you for inviting me to this conference. And thank you also for the great speakers earlier, because they touched upon all the opportunities, but also the challenges that are facing us in AI. So that's good. Then I can keep my schedule, I hope. First of all, I'm working at the Norwegian Board of Technology, Teknologirådet in Norwegian. And we are an independent body that are set up about nearly 20 years ago to give advice to the politicians, the parliament, the government, other ministries, etc., on areas where we believe that technologies will play an important role. We are also actually working with AI in nearly all our projects. We work with autonomous cars, with lifelong learning, the future of work, and then I'm working within the healthcare sector. And we work with experts, and Nichele is part of our expert group. But we also work with the public, and we are very eager to engage the public to hear their voices on how we want the society to develop, and especially in this area, that's important. And of course, we also monitor international technological trends. So, what we see in AI is that there's a lot of opportunities and also a lot of challenges. I would say this is a technology that maybe you feel a bit uncomfortable with the technology, we're a bit unsure. So we made a report where we try to go a little bit under the hype, not very deep, but so that we can actually have a maybe more fruitful discussion about the way forward in this area. We also see that there's a race. There's been last years a lot of countries and has been launching plans and strategies. China, for example, has a very ambitious plan. Europe is coming after. France, UK, also Sweden and Finland has made their plans, ambitious plans. But in Norway, AI is sort of mentioned for example, it's mentioned in political documents, and in the long-term research plan, it's sort of mentioned, it has a very minor role, and we think that to have a much more major role in these plans. It's not about digitalization, it's not just about ICT, but it's actually a sort of a field of its own, because it has its own problems and opportunities in a way. So we launched the report with our very quite also concrete advices to the politicians and how we should meet this development. You see, we said that we don't have any plan, and you see that Anna, she's looking for the plan in her purse. She can't find it. Quite good picture, I think. So, as was mentioned, R&D, what we believe that we have to enforce in 3 areas. We have to be quite concerned. It's about education and research. It's about fair sharing of data. And it's about responsible and a development that we actually want to have. So the first area in R&D, where should we focus? We see that, as mentioned, Google has 50 of the 100 best developers in the world. Norway has none of them on that list, but it also comes a lot. we don't rank very high on the international agenda. So we believe we should focus. And one area that's sort of very, what we say, popular in Europe and in the UK is to talk about the grand challenges and to define missions. And that are very concrete goals to solve some really, really important societal issues. And we believe that, for example, in Norway, we have good data in some areas that we could match with some important challenges. And that's in healthcare. It's in the public sector, make it more personalized, more facing the public in a way. Also within energy, we have a lot of data when we have and challenges to turn around to be more green. And also in the oceans, to have clean oceans. And as an example, for inspiration, Theresa May in the UK has launched a mission in healthcare to put a lot of efforts in cancer, to detect early signs of cancer in a way that you can actually save 22,000 lives in some years. That's a very ambitious goal. So join forces. And another recommendation for us is, recommendation, should we try to sort of assemble these initiatives in one initiative? In Norway, we have sort of 2 large initiatives now. We have the AI Open Lab with the NTNU in the center, and then we have the NORA with the rest. Maybe it's a good idea to sort of try to have one initiative. And our inspiration there is from the Vector Institute in Canada, where they actually had one institution also closely working with the industry. And of course there they are competing with their neighbor country, the US, to get the best heads in a way. But we believe that the competence is also, it's not only about AI and statistics, mathematics, informatics. It is also about everybody in a way. Everybody, as you also mentioned, will be touched by the AI. And OECD, according to their numbers, 850,000 jobs in Norway will be changed some way or another. It might be small changes or larger. That we don't know. But it's important that people are engaged in this development. So therefore, we believe that, have a bold sort of believe that all masters will need AI. And in Bergen, they have, at the Institute of Medicine, they have a course. It's about understanding how algorithms work so that doctors can take a position or have the opportunity to evaluate how these algorithms work. It's also a way sort of to go into the black box in a way to actually see how they work. So that it's better for them. It's easier to actually take responsibility for using AI systems, for example, in diagnostics. The other one is we believe also that the whole public should actually learn about AI in some way. And in Finland, they have elements of AI. I advise you to take it. It's a great course. It's not very mathematically, but it's sort of logically built up so that you understand a little bit about how the logic is in these machine learning systems. And in Singapore, they work with incentives. So they give, everybody gets a voucher, about 3,000 crowns that you can buy courses to enhance your curriculum. And we believe that we have to have also new digital contract with between so that we can engage the society. And we have 2 competitive advantages. We have data. Everything is not very necessarily useful for AI, but it can be. And we have trust, and that's important. So we believe that we should have a data sharing that serves the community, that we actually are conscious about the value that these algorithms create, that we don't just give away the data, but we also, if public sector is going to, for example, use health data to augment the healthcare sector, we should also be conscious that we don't just give away the data to other companies, but this also gives value back to Norway, Norwegian industry, and Norwegian the public sector, for example. And also to give the citizens real control of the data. I personally believe that people have to take much more care about their data. They have to be more driven by consent. And then you have to need tools. You need tools that you have, like your sort of bank account, you know where your data is. It's easy for you to understand who you give consent to do what and when. So that's important. And also it's important that you get that you have a right for an explanation on how these decisions are made, especially in your case. If you don't get a loan, for example, in the bank, you should get an explanation why you are picked as the person that didn't get that loan, because you are actually not necessarily using your data, but you are compared to somebody that resembles you.